going on. Okay. Calm down. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today is what I read in October. We're back with another wrap-up. I don't know actually, 11 books this month, and it's a big range of genres, of types of books. It's the beginning of a new month. Look what just arrived, my book of the month box. I have 2 books in here. Perfect timing. I can't wait to show you guys. First, if you haven't heard of book of the month, they're a super popular and fast growing online book service for readers. I absolutely love them. They have such fun and different book choices every month that you can choose from. Their mission is to promote new and emerging authors and help book lovers find books that they love. So the book of the month team vets hundreds of books each month and gives their readers a choice from a curated selection of different books, different genres. There's always a book for you. Whatever genre you like, whatever type of book you like reading, there's a choice for you. And the books that they choose are from new and early release titles, so you can spend more time reading and less time researching. One of the great things about Book of the Month is that they are risk-free, so you can skip any month at any time. If you're behind on some of your reads for that month, you can skip. It's completely free. You will not be charged. Book of the Month also has the best price for new release hardcover fiction. You can get your first book for just $9.99 with my code Caroli. That'll be in the description, the link, the code, and everything. So if you're interested, definitely check that out. Let's talk about the books that I got. I'm so excited. This is The Wilder Women by Ruth Emmy Lang. Look at the cover. And I also got The Last Party by Claire McIntosh. I'm just, I guess, in my thriller/mystery era right now. Back says, it's the party to end all parties, but not everyone is here to celebrate. It's a New Year's Eve party, house full of guests, and then New Year's Day, there's a village full of suspects. That sounds fun. So these are 2 of my picks for the month. Again, the code is Caroli. You can check that out in the description. I'm so happy. Thank you, Book of the Month, for sponsoring this section of the video. Okay, now back into what I read this month. I need my coffee for this. Every time I start one of these wrap-up videos, I feel like the first book I read was months ago. Not the beginning of the month. Like, I literally feel like I read it months ago. Starting off, Court of Wings and Ruin. I kind of started it at the end of September into October, but this was in my part 2 of ACOTAR series reading vlog. It has spoilers in it, so if you want to watch that, you can see all my reactions if you already read this book in the series. I think I give this 4 out of 5 stars. I read the first like 200-ish, 300 pages, and then I took like a really big break in between. I think I just needed a break from the series because I was kind of reading them back to back at this point. But this is the 3rd book in the ACOTAR series, and then after my big break, I went back into it and like binged the rest of it. So it's really long, and I think that's what it was. I got a little bit bored in the middle. I think I need a different book, different characters, like a refresher, cleanse my brain. And then I went right back into it, and the ending was just so good. I loved the beginning. I was like so obsessed with the beginning. This is basically obviously further into the ACOTAR series, but this is more of a situation between like courts and stuff. This is less about like the character development. I feel like it's more story driven than plot driven, but the end of this was just so, it was like back to back things were happening, and it was like a situation after another. I loved the end of this book. Did like give it a little bit of a break in between, but it was good. It was really good. Wait, I didn't write down in my notes that I read A Court of Frost and Starlight, but I did. It's not in my notes. It's really weird. I always write the books that I'm reading in my notes for the sake of this video. So I've read 12 books. This is a novella though, so it's short, but I did read this month. It was right after Court of Wings and Ruin. This is the novella right before the last book in the series. Honestly, if you're reading the series, or if you haven't read the series yet and you're like questioning if you should read the novella, personally, I didn't think I needed it. It probably sets up really good for the last book, which I didn't read yet, but I could have done without it. I read it for the sake of the video. This is also in the reading vlog, but I don't know. I didn't really need to read this, I feel like. But it was good. I mean, it wasn't bad. I loved the characters. I love the storyline. Like, we're so into the series now that I feel like I know these characters at this point, and that's like my favorite thing about series. Like, they feel like real world people, and like, I don't know. I really like the series, but I don't know. This novella, I just feel like isn't needed. You don't need to read it to continue the series, you know what I mean? But if you're like in love with the series, I feel like you probably would love to read it. You choose. You know, it's a personal decision. After that, I read the Inheritance Game series. I read these all back to back. My reading vlog of this is coming out after this video. I was hoping to put it out before this one, but it didn't work out like that. I have a reading vlog of me reading all 3 of these. The first one is spoiler free, and then the Hawthorne Legacy and the Final Gambit are spoilers. If you haven't read them yet, you can see my reaction to the first one, and if you have read them, you can just keep on watching the video when it comes out and see all my reactions and opinions and stuff on it. If you saw my Goodreads, like, I did rate them, so it's not a surprise that I really liked this series. I binged these, like, I literally read them. I think in less than a week. I love the storyline of this. It is so interesting because it's, well, at least the first one, I guess I'll talk about the plot line, but this girl, she's called to Hawthorne House. She doesn't know this family, billionaire family, and the grandfather has died, and she is brought there to read the will with the family. And so she's left the entire legacy, will, whatever, the grandfather that died of the family, and she doesn't know why, but the grandfather would always give the 4 grandsons like little games and riddles and stuff, and the whole house has little hidden doorways and stuff, and it's literally so cool. It was so different, you know, and it was fun to read along with. It was so quick, like the chapters were short, the storyline just kept going, you know, like it was never just like boring. It kept me on my toes and I like wanted to keep reading, and it was really fun series. Like all of them I was like obsessed with. The last one I think got a little too far into the plot line, like now we're connecting like 100 different dots and 100 different lines are crossing, so they kind of lost me a little, but it was still good. I still really enjoyed the series. Overall, the series I would give like 4 stars. The second one was my favorite though. Just wait for the reading vlog. You guys will see all my reactions, the little subplots of romance that are in these. You guys will see all of my opinions on the brothers and who I like better, because there's like a love triangle situation. That'll be out after this, but I did really enjoy the series. Okay. After that, I read What Happened to the Bennets. This was from my boyfriend picking my TBR. This was one of the books that he chose. This is about family who's driving home after the daughter's soccer game, and they're getting like tailgate. Is that the word? There's like a pickup truck behind them that's like really close to them. It's like nighttime, and they basically almost drive the family off the road, and then they like cut them off. They get out of the car. They like give me the car. It's like a hijacking situation. Something happens. It's in the father's point of view. Now he is on this like road to figuring out why that family was chosen. Was it like purposeful that they chose that family to hijack or whatever? Then the FBI tells the family like, you're not safe anymore. Like this is part of a drug organization. Like you need to go to witness protection. Which, you know, me explaining that summary sounds so interesting. And I remember whenever my boyfriend and I would go to Target, we go in the book section, or I make him go in the book section. Always try to get him to read a fiction book. So I read the back of this and it sounds so fun. It sounds like it would be action packed. It would be like interesting. I gave it 2 stars. It had so much potential to be so good, but the writing of it was just, you know, when it's like descriptive, but like too descriptive, where it's like, okay, just get to the point. Like we don't need these 4 pages on what the trees looked like, what roads you're going down, what the color of the cars are. Like sometimes it's just like too much, and also his thoughts and like what he was like doing and saying whatever was really repetitive, where I was just like skipping paragraphs and skipping stuff, and I still knew what was going on. Like there was so much extra that didn't need to be there. So just the writing style I didn't like, but this storyline literally had so much potential. It sounds so good reading like the summary of it. I just personally didn't like it, so that was a bummer, but it's okay. It was just a flop. Okay, and then I read Icebreaker. I read this on my Kindle. I think it's newer. I think it just came out. I saw it, literally everyone was giving it 5 stars. I was like, okay, I gotta read it. I do love me a hockey romance. I'm not big on sports romances, but something about the hockey romances I really like. But this one was really interesting because this is about a hockey player and a figure skater, and it's frenemies, I would say, to lovers. Not really enemies to lovers, more like a frenemies to lovers. But this one's interesting because the girl is the grumpy and the guy is not the grumpy. He's like the sunshine, which I really liked. And I feel like if you like Off Campus, this is the book for you. And I feel like From Lukov with Love, like that's what that book was trying to do. I feel like it's Icebreaker. Like From Lukov with Love didn't hit for me, which is an unpopular opinion. Icebreaker hit. So I think I gave this 4 out of 5 stars, 4.5 out of 5. I really enjoyed the storyline. I loved the characters. What I love about like sports, more so hockey romances, it's like the teammates and the team players that are also in the storyline. I love it so much. I don't know why. It's just like the whole found family essence of it. I really liked, what was his name? I think I wrote it down. I was like obsessed with him. I loved Henry. He's one of the characters, one of the teammates, but he's like a younger one, but he lives with the main character guy. He's one of his roommates, and he just like has so many like out of pocket comments and unsolicited comments that are just like so funny. He just randomly will say things, but he's really honest about it. I loved him like so much. There's great communication. There's no like situation in the end where they're like fighting and there's like a mini breakup. The situation between them is more so with like another character, which I really liked. Then I read His and Hers by Alice Feeney. I am on my way to finishing all of her books. I think I have 1 left. This is my 5th one by her. I don't write reviews on Goodreads. I wrote her a review. I literally said I would pay her extra money to write another book to keep manipulating me. I gave this 5 stars. It's told in 2 point of views, so it's in his and hers point of view. His is the detective. This woman goes missing. This woman turns up dead. The his is the detective on the case, so he goes to see the case, whatever. The hers, journalist, broadcaster type of thing, like news broadcaster, and she is like assigned into the case. So you have their point of views, you have the woman, and somehow everyone is just like weaved into the murder, you know what I mean? Like the guy is kind of suspected for doing it, and then the girl. It just all like kind of like weaves together. My favorite thing about Alice in these books is she does such a good job with making you think that every single person is the suspect and is the killer, and you just like literally can't figure out who it is. And when you think that you know it, I was so convinced. I was like, I got her this time. Like, not that it's obvious, but like I feel like whenever she says something, I think so far into it, I'm like, I'm gonna get her. No. I wrote down while I was reading too who I thought it was going to be. 7 different people that I thought it could have been. And guess what? None of them were who it was. I feel like the ending, some people, honestly, when they read it, might think it's a little out there, but I was so just taken back. I did guess one part of it because something happened and I was like, wait. And I got that right, but like that wasn't like the big thing. But it was so good. I love her writing. I literally DM'd her on Instagram. I was like thanking her. I was like, I'm literally almost done with reading all of your books and you're like my new favorite author of all time. She didn't answer me, but that's okay. I expressed my love for her and I thanked her for being such an amazing writer. I have one more book by her. I think it was her first book that she's ever written. I don't know if Sometimes I Lie was the first one or the one I haven't read yet is the first, but I'm really excited to finish it. But I'm also sad because then I have no more books by her to read, but it's fine. It was so good. 5 out of 5. I literally was obsessed. I've read this in like a day and a half. Highly recommend anything by Alice Feeney. You guys know I'm her biggest stan. Then I read It Starts With Us. I have a reading vlog on this as well. This one I think I gave 3 out of 5. Not that it was like anything bad about it. It wasn't bad at all. I think just because I don't have to say what this is about. Wait, hold on. Right? You guys know. This is the sequel to It Ends With Us. This gives more background, I feel like, on Atlas, and it's in Atlas and Lily's point of view. You have Lily trying to co-parent with Ryle. Ryle's still in the picture, and he's like, I don't want my daughter around Atlas, and Lily's trying to be with Atlas again. It's like a few years in the future after the end of It Ends With Us, but then you get Atlas's point of view, and you get more background on him and his family life and stuff, so it was really nice to see. Personally, I don't think I like needed to read it. I didn't need this kind of closure. It just felt like a really long, not really long, but like just like an extended epilogue of the first one. But what I did like is that Colleen gave the closure, like I said, and I feel like the first one, everyone kept saying, you know, like Atlas, we don't get a lot of him, so you get a lot of Atlas in this one. And I said in my reading vlog, like at the end of it, Atlas told Lily like just keep swimming or whatever the quote was from Finding Nemo. In this book, one of the characters kept making fun of Atlas for saying that, and I thought it was funny because I feel like Colleen got so much like, not hate, but like so much like slander, like low-key slander, saying like just keep swimming in like a serious way. So like in this, he was getting made fun of for doing that, and it was really, I thought that part was really fun. It's hard because this book was so hyped and the anticipation for this book was so high because of the hype for It Ends With Us that I feel like expectations were high and they weren't really met. Personally for me, it was good though. Like it wasn't a bad book. I enjoyed it. It wasn't anything crazy. Then I read Kiss of the Selkie. This is part of the Entangled with Fae series. If you don't know, I read Heart of the Raven Prince in my Blind Date with Books video. It's part of a series, but I didn't know it was part of a series when I started reading it. So after I looked it up, it's a series. It's all princess retellings, but they all kind of weave with each other. They're all taking place in like the same world. The first one I read was actually the second in the series, so I didn't read the first one. This is the third. This is a Little Mermaid retelling, which I really enjoyed. I think I gave this 4 out of 5. This is if you combine Little Mermaid with Fae, magic, and like The Bachelor, because in this one, she is cursed by her mother. She has to join this competition to win over this guy and marry him by the end of it, and then her curse will be taken away or whatever. So you get her like in a little competition. Also, it kind of reminded me a lot of The Selection. So if you like any of those like mixed together with magic, Fae, princess retellings, like it's just like, I love the princess part of these books. I think it's just so cool and it's so interesting. So I just ordered the first one. I just bought the first one. I actually have it. Not the first one, the fourth one, which is a Snow White retelling, and the first was Beauty and the Beast, and the second was Cinderella. If any of that is up your alley, highly recommend. It's so good, and I love the covers of them. So cute. And then I read Bunny. This is also in the books my boyfriend chose for me video. I read this, and I went into it knowing, I feel like, majority of the thoughts on this book. I've seen people talk about how after it, you kind of have to like look up more into what the story and the plotline really was. I've heard some people say it's just like a whole crazy mind game. Some people say it's like literally feels like you're on drugs reading this, and that all has intrigued me like so much. Plus just the cover of it, just I've seen it everywhere, so I read it. Obviously. I gave it 2.5 stars. It's just not a book for me. Like I can see why people enjoy it, people like it. I feel like it's a book that you need to read and then you need to interpret the book. You need to kind of think more into it. You need to use your brain and just kind of like really process the book and what happened and kind of like not make up your own version of what happened, but you can just like kind of, you just like look more into it, more into the storyline. So I had to Google after it, basically what happened with the whole book. I read a whole analysis, a whole summary, and for me, I just don't like books like that. I don't like books where I read the whole thing and I have to now look up what I just read. You know, I like it more, I read the book, I like know what happened, but I like to get other people's opinions on them, you know? This whole book was just so, like, I didn't know what was going on. I like kept up with it and like I knew what was going on, or like I could follow along with what was going on, but I felt like it was all just I don't even know. So weird. Such an interesting book. Not a book for me, but I can see why other people would enjoy it. I just don't love books like this. It was just very interesting. Not at all what I expected. Basically about, why didn't I even say what it was about? It's about a group of girls at this university. They're in grad school, I believe. And the group of girls call themselves the bunnies. They call each other bunny. They're very like interesting. It's like low-key like Mean Girls meets like who even knows? But they invite the main character Samantha into their salon, and she has like a best friend, and she kind of like ditches her best friend to go, and her best friend keeps telling her like don't do that because they always make fun of the bunnies, and then she goes, and it's like this whole trip. Interesting book. Definitely interesting. I personally don't think I would recommend it, but it sounds interesting to you, then I would say read it, but I'm not going to go around telling everyone to read Bunny. And then the last book that I read was Divergent. It's also in the video that I just posted with my boyfriend. He chose this for me. I said in the video, I'm in the minority of people that have not seen this, read this. I knew literally nothing about it. This came out in 2011 when I was like 11, 12 years old. I just wasn't really interested in this stuff. I feel like, I don't know. I had no idea going into this what the storyline was at all. I had no idea there was like a little romance in it. I didn't know there was different factions. Like I had no idea. If you don't know what this is about, I feel like you probably did. But this is this dystopian world. This is dystopian young adult, and the world is separated into factions, and when you're 16, you get to either stay with a faction you were born into or choose a different one. So the main character, she wakes up, she's 16, she has to decide her faction, she chooses one, and then she goes through the initiation, you see, and then at the end of it there's like this crazy thing that happens, which I liked. That I liked how fast-paced it was. I love young adult dystopian. I loved how action-packed it was. It was just so, like I said, fast-paced that I was just reading it and I was like, I pictured the movie in my head. I can't wait to watch it. Nothing was boring. It didn't like drag out, and though I feel like I need to read like the rest of the series now because I feel like the end was so, there's a lot of closure for me. Like I need to know what happens next, so I don't know if I should read the movies because I don't know how similar they are to the books, but I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. I don't know why I never got into Divergent. I'm really excited to watch the movie though. Yeah, that was the last book I read this month. It was definitely an interesting mix of books. I think because I did like videos on most of these, so it was like different choices for them. I don't know, very interesting though, right? Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoy. I will see you hopefully in the next one. Bye!